Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a a Tuesday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. All right, y'all. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing great. Apologies for yesterday morning for those that were here. It was an in-transit edition, and I understand at one point I got a phone call and my mic cut off, and so I was talking because I was driving and I wasn't looking at the screen. Obviously, I was looking at the road, and then I realized a portion of the show got cut off toward the end. So my apologies for that. It was my general thoughts, I think, on Mike Elko and Jeff Levy getting the A&M and Mississippi State jobs, but we can circle back to that. One of the things I'd like to do today is, as we start here, I want to talk about the Corey Raymond situation because I am really perplexed. Just very candidly, I am surprised. To catch up, of course, Corey Raymond played at LSU, was the DB coach for 10 years, from 2012 to 2021, and then obviously when Ogeron was fired and the staff was let go, Raymond did not have the opportunity to stay. As I understand it, he was not even granted an interview with Brian Kelly. Kelly just let him go. Like so many guys on staff who had been there for a long time. Tommy Moffitt, guys who'd been on LSU staff for a long time. So Billy Napier hires Raymond at Florida. He not only was the defensive backs coach, but he had the title of associate head coach. Interesting. I forgot to put that in there. I'll change the description here in a second. Anyway, so Corey goes to Florida, and obviously we've seen LSU's defensive back play drop off dramatically. That's no secret to anybody. And yesterday, Corey was fired at Florida, and so I kind of tweeted like, "Hey." I think I just quote tweeted, was like, ahem, like LSU, possibility of an LSU reunion. And I was so surprised that the responses to that were roughly 50-50. Like half of the LSU fans that replied were like, hey, that would be awesome, bring Corey home. But the other half, and it was about 50-50, which floored me, were like, no thanks. Basically saying arguing that Corey was the reason for LSU's erosion. Okay, we have to talk about this. And first of all, I have to know where that is rooted. Because it's not listen, I don't mean this to be in any way, I hope this doesn't come across as rude or anything like that, but it is super rare, if not altogether impossible, that many people of a collective fan base just came to that conclusion on their own. Somebody told them that. And so like some thought leader, some influencer, some media member, someone, somewhere started this notion that Corey Raymond was the reason for LSU's erosion, and a lot of people have bought it. And so I don't know where that started. Like, I've told you this before, I don't read message boards. I don't listen to other people's shows. I don't watch the news at night. So I don't know where that is rooted, but it is rooted somewhere. Like somewhere, someone came up with the idea that Corey Raymond was part of the erosion. And later today on AFR, I'm going to do a deep dive into this, but I'll give you sort of the 10,000 foot view of it right now, which is this essentially. Over the course of a decade, DBU really for LSU started as we know it with, my argument is with Corey Webster and Travis Daniels in 2003. Yes, there were good cornerbacks before them, and defensive backs, don't misunderstand me, and LSU put a lot of guys into the pros. But as we know it, this era, this run, this 20-year run, started really then. And Nick recruited some really good defensive backs over the time. And some guys that Les inherited that went on to have really good careers. LaRon Landry, Stelz became an All-American, Chevis Jackson. And then you can look at like Patrick Peterson, which Les's staff did a great job getting Patrick Peterson. Ron Cooper was the DB's coach then, if I'm not mistaken, to get Pat Pete. Frank Wilson is the one who got Tyrann Mathieu when he was a no-star and basically vouched for him, was like, that kid can play. And by the time he showed up at LSU, he was a 4-star. But of course, that was an odd kid. But Corey is the one that really started that long run of incredible defensive backs that came through here. From Jalen Mills, I'm trying to go in order. Mills was part of that 2012 class, who was like a 3-star that became a stud, started as a freshman. One of the lowest rated players in that class, but Corey had that eye for talent. Rashard Robinson was one that showed up on campus in 2013, like the week of the TCU game, and was out there making plays as a true freshman. Tre'Davious White, who of course became an All-American, first-round draft pick. Jamal Adams, of course, was part of the 2014 class. I mean, I'm gonna end up leaving off names if I just try to do this. I'm scanning real quickly to see which ones so I don't forget. But you all know the list. Dante Jackson, even a guy like Savion Smith, who was a 5-star, who basically got busted at LSU because he couldn't pass weed tests, and so he got kicked out of school and went to Bama. Greedy Williams, Derek Stingley. I mean, y'all know the list. It's a long, Christian Fulton, a long, distinguished list of great defensive backs that rolled through here that Corey recruited all of them. And then ultimately what happened with LSU is two things. Number one, you fire Ogeron, and the program eroded, clearly. And when you fired Ogeron and the program was eroding, your 2 starting cornerbacks, Elias Ricks and Dwight McGlothern, who were both great players, left in a time when it was never easier to leave. After that, the 2 guys that you had recruited were Raydarius Jones, Demarius McGee, and they transferred as well. So basically all you had left was LaTerrence Welch, because you had mismanaged your roster, pointing back to the head coach, and all the issues that we know that you had, and you had to go heavy in the portal a year ago. So, I am just floored that people lay that at the foot or at the feet of Corey Raymond. Like, the erosion of your secondary wasn't Corey's fault. Corey got fired with everybody else. Ed eroded the program. You had a bunch of guys that had been recruited transfer, and now Brian Kelly's had to start from zero because he basically had one scholarship guy in LaTerrence Welch. That's not Corey Raymond's fault. And if you want to say, well, look, they failed at Florida, okay. He never wanted to be at Florida. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, and they didn't play well this year, but if you don't think that Corey Raymond, who played at LSU, who's from the Lafayette area, who all those defensive backs that I just mentioned came here to play for him, if you don't think that guy could get right back in it and recruit this state and recruit the best DBs in the country and dramatically increase the talent level at that position where you are awful, how is this even a thing? I'm really, genuinely asking, who is behind the idea that Corey Raymond was to blame for LSU's erosion in the secondary? The guy that built that thing for a decade, he got lazy, he stopped recruiting. I mean, what's the narrative out there? It's stunning to me. I would argue the two biggest, most egregious errors that Brian Kelly made when he was hired were not retaining Greg McMahon as a special teams coordinator and letting Corey Raymond go and bringing in Kerry Cooks and Robert Steeples. I mean, it is evident that Robert Steeples is in over his head and coaching cornerbacks, and you don't have anybody that can recruit that position at the level Corey did. So I am seriously all, I was so taken aback yesterday that this was a thing. So anyway, if you have any insight, please let me know, because I am stunned at that there's a segment of this LSU fan base that wouldn't want Corey Raymond back, that lays this at his feet. Now, I will tell you, and I've told you this before, that if Corey has the opportunity to come back, he will come back. I don't know if Brian Kelly wants to make that move, will bring him back, don't know. But Corey's available, and you're going to make staff changes. I'm quite certain you're going to make staff changes in the secondary. There maybe has never been a more obvious decision than that. Anyway, Brant Roban, should LSU take a leap of faith with Corey Raymond? His numbers weren't good at Florida, who had a better defense than LSU. Like, leap of faith? Brant, what are you talking about? Like, this... First of all, you have to have players, and LSU has no players. That's evident. Corey will get players. They didn't have great players at Florida either. Remember, they inherited a terrible situation at Florida as well. It's why the coach was fired. I mean, it's why the coach was fired and why Billy Napier was brought in. And look at the recruiting class they're building right now. I am just stunned by this. You have to get players. No one is better at getting players at that position than that guy. What am I missing? Like, so just to be clear, so everyone here at LSU, every fan has faulted Matt House for all the defensive struggles, right? Defensive coordinator. Nobody is like targeting, like I haven't heard people target all season Robert Steeples or Kerry Cooks. I've heard a lot about Matt House. So Florida's defense isn't good, and we're going to blame Corey Raymond and not the Florida defensive coordinator? What am I missing here? Like, I'm telling you, like, I know this. I've done this long enough, y'all. It's a narrative that has started somewhere. And when this happens with fans, they'll latch onto a narrative and blindly follow it. And I just don't know where it started. It started there. The genesis of it was somewhere with someone, and I don't know where it is, but enough of you believe it. And it is stunning to me. Stunning. Bubba Smith, Kelly Gross, Rocky Killian, Mortimer, so sick of Dennis Allen's smug press conferences. I agree. Ryan Amanda Guidry, Charlie Cavell, David Wallace, love to see Corey Raymond return to LSU. Me too, man. That's as big of a no-brainer as you could imagine. If you told me, would you rather Corey Raymond as the secondaries coach or Dave Aranda as the DC? I might take Dave still. But you got to have players. I mean, it shows at Baylor, doesn't it? Dave don't have players because he can't recruit. Jared Pettijohn, after the season, I would love to see Corey come back. DBU existed because of him. I'm telling you, man, it's a 50-50 thing here. Chad Cornett, Rhett LeBlanc, Neil Ripley, Vernell Thomas. Good morning, y'all. No, Brett said you're not missing anything if Kelly Smart will bring Raymond back ASAP. But that's just it, Brett. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not saying Twitter is the be-all end-all reflection of everything going on, but it is a good reflection of the core LSU fan base, and the reaction last night to the possibility of Corey Raymond returning was very much 50-50. Like, and I just cannot fathom why that many LSU fans would be against bringing back Corey Raymond. Like, when he was here, it was, he's the godfather of DBU. Corey's the one who get, and it was accepted and everybody knew it. And now all of a sudden it's like, it's not anymore? Like, what happened? Where did that erosion of fan trust start? And if you tell me it's because when Brian Kelly got here, they didn't have any DBs, that's because your freaking coach got fired and everybody transferred. Like, what am I missing? If Elias Ricks and Dwight McGlothern don't leave, well, you have two great starting cornerbacks last year. And then you allow guys like LaTerrence Welch and Demarius McGee and Raydarius Jones to come, and then the freshmen beneath them to come up like you would normally have in a year. Instead, you've had to go back-to-back portal classes. You hit last year, you missed this year. What am I missing? Wendell Norman, Brian Greer, Jeff Hawk, good morning. Brian Thomas, Dalton Barnett, Jacob Thompson, morning, Matt. Out of LSU and Saints, what's your favorite team to follow the most out of the two during football season? I mean, that's like asking which is your favorite child. It's just not a real question. I'm really, Jacob. Brad David, good morning. I'm not trying to avoid the question, but if you tell me like I couldn't live without one for the rest of my life, I would be miserable. I couldn't pick. Tiger Diver, morning, Scone. It was nice meeting you in T-Bob Whiskey and Wine. Also, it's a great day to walk into an office full of Aggies. I love it. Good to see you, man. It was very nice to meet you. It is interesting when someone walks up to you and is like, "Hey, man, forgive me, I forgot your name. I know you told me your name, but you were like, I'm so-and-so, Tiger Diver from Morning Scone." I was like, Tiger Diver. What's up, dude? Glenn Garner, Tim Gotro, Matt Plavidal just landed in Houston trying to meet a buddy in Utah. Never been there. I know it's cold. First day of 6 days off from the post office. All right, Matt. Enjoy. Utah is very flat, as I understand. Well, there's mountains, but there's no sky high rises, right? There in Utah. But enjoy, bud. Caleb Lemoyne, who would be your DC if you were BK? I mean, for me, I would go to Jim Leonard first. I think he's got a great track record, and he's poised for a job. I don't know if he would take the job, though, but that would be my first call. Taylor Hudson, morning, Matt. Do you think staffing decisions wait till after the bowl game? No. Scott Fontenot, morning, Matt. We have to bring Coach Raymond back, right? I would hope so. I mean, I will tell you this, that I think Brian Kelly, as I have pieced together some things this season, and I didn't allude to this, I told you point blank, that there's a big difference between Brian Polian's recruiting strategy and Frank Wilson's. And they're very obvious. And the best example I could give you is that Polian went out to Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas to recruit a 3-star cornerback there in Jeremiah Hughes. Again, nothing against Jeremiah Hughes. He's at LSU. I hope he becomes a great player. But LSU's on this class has 2 3-stars out of New Orleans committed. 2 3-star cornerbacks out of New Orleans. Like, you don't have to get on a plane to go to a private school in Las Vegas to recruit a 3-star cornerback. Just go to New Orleans. Just go to any school around the area. They got 3-star. I mean, they fall from trees here. So I think that's like a huge change in philosophy, in recruiting philosophy. And that's Frank's influence. And Corey's from the same school. And I think if you put Frank and Corey on the same staff, it would be pretty incredible. Let's see. Hunter Fournette, Corey Raymond didn't get fired. Florida tried to save face, and Matt knows that. Hunter, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, do you mean like that someone had to be a scapegoat, a fall guy? That I agree with, of course. Yes, and I also know that Corey was not happy at Florida the last 2 years. Like, he didn't want to leave LSU. He played here. He has deep roots here. His parents are here. Like, he never wanted to leave. So I'm not saying you go to Florida and as a result you don't try hard. That's not my point. But I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, Hunter. Like, are you saying that that Florida had to have they had to make changes, so they had to have a fall guy scapegoat, so they made Corey that? Sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that was part of the reason here. But that's not the reason why LSU fans are pushing back against the idea of bringing Corey back to LSU. Wacky Chris, morning, Matt. Did you see the chart I believe Cody Worsham made comparing the stats side by side of all 3 Heisman quarterbacks? See it laid out makes Jaden Staley even more Heisman. Yeah, Chris, listen, man, here's the thing. I did see it. And these are all objective facts. I don't know if there's a subjective fact, but it's objectively true that Jaden had the most productive season of any player. And I know that the fan base is rallying behind Jaden, and you should. And LSU, the athletic department is doing a great job building out his Heisman case and putting out information, laying out the case. It feels uneasy that when something feels so obvious and yet you have to feel like you're lobbying for it, there's a reason, and it's because I think we all see that Bo Nix is the favorite to win it right now, and he's still got another game. And if he plays well on Friday, he's probably going to win it, and that sucks. But there's too many people that vote for an individual award that consider team success, and that's the way it's always been. Unfortunately, I am hoping, like all of you, that there's enough voters that look at Jaden Daniels and say, this is the most outstanding player in college football, and it's not even close, and they vote for him. I just don't know. I don't know. But actually, it draws a lot of intrigue around the Heisman, because most of the times we go in the Heisman ceremony knowing exactly who's going to win it. Brad David, can all the Saints' problems be traced back to when they bought everything on credit at the end of the Breeze era? Yeah. And I get it. You know, they were in win now mode. And they were right to do that. And they just didn't get it done. They came close in 2018. And they just didn't get it done. And so they keep chasing their losses, unfortunately. And they keep digging a hole deeper and deeper. Brian Penn, good morning from Beaumont. Tim Gotro, have you started working on your speech for Muso's wedding? Or you wait until after date number 2? Yeah, I'll wait on it a little bit. Will Davis, did we send the U-Haul to Gainesville to get Raymond's things? God, I hope so. Who do you kick in the shin first, Carr or Allen? Neither, because I don't think they're bad humans. I think they both seem like very good people. They're just not great at the job they're paid to do. Ray Langlois, morning, Matt. Looking forward to seeing how this weekend shakes out for the playoff bowl picture. Lewoski Watkins, Julia, Kyle Lilopono, good morning. Bring back DBU. Spurge, good morning. Let's see, Matt, for my opinion, what I gather, people blame Raymond for Rick's leaving and Stingley sitting out and the other transfers leaving. Just my guess, I don't agree. So, Eli Rick's leaving had nothing to do with Corey Raymond. If anything, it had to do with Corey Raymond not being retained. But there was an NIL component to that as well. I know that for a fact. Eli was the 5-star number 1 cornerback in the country, and he did not have a single NIL deal while he was at LSU. Not one. Stingley sitting out, as you all saw, dude was injured, and I don't blame him. Also, the first game of the season, there was an awful narrative around Stingley, why he missed the Mississippi State game. That was not true. And the other transfers leaving, the coach they committed to play for got fired. The head coach got fired. The program was in shambles. They left. Why do you pin that on Corey? I don't get it. Eric Wilderwater, if Jaden wins the Heisman, do you think his number should be retired? Well, yes. I mean, I think Burrow's 9 should be, and if Jaden wins the Heisman, his 5 should be. Yes, absolutely. Like, they'll never, I mean, even though 9 isn't retired, they're never going to issue 9 again. No one's going to wear that number ever again. And I would say the same for Jaden. David, good morning. James McKinney, good morning. Let's see, Matt, will you and T-Bob be at Don Juan for the bowl game if it's the Relinquish Bowl? If so, plan to come by to meet you, T-Bob. Very cool. So, Matt, it really depends on what, a couple things. What bowl they're in, what time it is, if Don Juan is open that day, once it's there, etc. So, to be determined. Yes, Kevin Tolliver, another one. Free Mind said Brian Kelly's arrogance will not hire Corey Raymond. I don't think it's that. I think Brian was bringing in, when he got hired, I thought he did a good job of sort of splitting the staff of people who knew him and people who knew the state. Brad Davis, obviously. Frank Wilson. Joe Sloan. He he did. Those were people who knew Louisiana really well. Similarly, he brought in Polian and Cooks and guys that Denbrock, guys that he knew and knew him and knew what his expectations. So, but I think the shift that he's seen now with a larger growing sample size is like Frank's way works better than Brian Polian's way. And if you can add Corey to this staff, probably something you should do. C-Mac, Kelly will hire him. If he hired Frank Wilson, get Louisiana talent, he'll hire Corey Raymond. But the thing is, Chris, he fired Corey Raymond. Whenever, like, he could have retained him. And Corey, I'm telling you, like, I know this for a fact, Corey didn't even get an interview. There wasn't even an opportunity to interview for the job to retain it. He was just fired. Same with Tommy Moffitt. There were a lot of coaches like that and it's Brian Kelly's prerogative. I mean, change is hard, but it's his program, and I think he learned a couple of lessons the hard way. Harrison Rosemond, morning, Matt, and everyone. Love the show. Watch every morning from Canada. Okay, Harrison, thanks so much for being there. Donovan Peterson, Pat Huseman. Hey, Dad, good morning. Victor Bernard, good morning. We want Corey. C-Mac, it's nice the ignorance of fans still stuns you, Matt. I have thought you'd be thoroughly cynical by now. But Chris, I am in many respects, but there's still some things that are surprising. Corey was beloved. It was a unanimous thing. He was the godfather of DBU. Like that was a known. He was a known commodity, and then somewhere, somehow, something changed, and I don't know what it is. Please smash the like button. 249 live. I love it. Please smash the like button if you're there. Subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page. Share the post. Blanche Hudson, bring back Aranda and Raymond. I see Dave's returning to Baylor. Baylor's announced that he's back next year, so that's not going to happen. Joey B19, why is everyone acting like Elko is a way better hire than Stoops would have been? That's a fair question. I think sometimes Joey B19, it's just what's the phrase? Familiarity breeds contempt. We've seen Mark Stoops at Kentucky for 11 years, and he's never really gotten over the hump at Kentucky. He's made them competitive, but when there is a degree of unknown, like with Elko, you go, okay, well, he went to Duke and made Duke into a winner. Can he take that step? Like if Stoops had gone after 2-3 years at Kentucky and said, okay, take that leap, it would have felt different. But 11 years of pretty much consistently the same thing makes you go, eh. Right or not. I'm not saying it's the right point of view, but you're asking. I think that's probably where it is. I think Ronnie just asked no school. Yeah, Drew's still sick. So brought him to the doctor yesterday. He's just battling sinus infection, green snot, coughing, just lethargic. So kept him home yesterday, keeping him home today as well. So he's still sleeping right now. Jason H. Morning, Matt. It's not even 8 a.m. and Matt's about to go on a rant. This should be good. Kendrick, cool on Corey as DB coach, maybe recruiting coordinator. No, Frank Wilson's recruiting coordinator, and that's fine. Like, let Frank do the thing that he does exceptionally well. But understand that it is obvious to everyone. Like, this is not even debatable. LSU has eroded in the secondary. It's for something that we all latched onto and waved the banner and held it as a point of pride that LSU is DBU. You are atrocious there now. I mean, there was not I don't think there's a single player right now in LSU secondary that is an NFL player. Like, go through it. Is Deuce Chestnut. Think of the guys who played this year. Denver Harris, Zy Alexander, Andre Sam, Major Burns. Some of the young guys, it may click for them. Toviano Stamps, we'll see. But none of those guys are draftable. When was the last time you could say that about an LSU secondary? I mean, it used to be 5 stars riding the pine because you had All-Americans ahead of them. Now, you're terrible. Mark Allen, I would burn the street up to get Corey back. He was DBU. Abner Neal, Matt, I agree with you on Corey. Ryan Slayton, DBU would be back. Eric Chillmonger, Matt, you're right about Corey Raymond. I'm telling you, man. Leon Williams, Devin Johnson, Ronnie Dugas, Jay Benoit. Morning, Matt. Couldn't have said it better about the Saints. Mike Plata, Matt, what's your assessment of the job Raymond did over his last 5 years at LSU? He was awesome. I mean, what? So I'm guessing that is, who is that? Okay, Mike Plata. Okay, so I'm guessing that's probably where this is rooted in. Okay, that it eroded, right? That's the thought. All right, Corey's last class at LSU was 2021. They got Major Burns, who transferred in from Georgia in 21. They signed Derek Davis out of Pittsburgh. I'm just looking at the defensive backs. Matthew Langlois, who is local. This was the safety class. They got Demarius McGee, Sage Ryan, who was a 5-star, and everybody in the country wanted. We know how it's turned out, but with the benefit of hindsight. But think about it at the time. You got a 5-star there as well, and Sage Ryan. And keep in mind, at that point in 21, you still had Dwight McGlothern, Eli Ricks, Demarius McGee, Raydarius Jones, and I'm missing another one. Because you have McGlothern and Ricks in the same class, along with, I'm missing one. Oh, Flott. You had Cordell Flott. Flott was 19. Oh, are we back? Are we back now? Are we back? I think we're back. Are we back? Let me know. Let me know if we're back. Are we back? Back? Just say yes. I think we got it. Okay, good. We're back. All right. Okay, sorry about that. So Facebook, my apologies. Wait, hang on 1 second, YouTube, 1 second. I have to remember to put the do not disturb on because we're streaming this on my phone. So when I get a call, that's why it freezes. So I had a telemarketer there. Anyway, Mark Vitanovich, what's up? Rocky Killian, Mike Robichaux, what's up? Craig Dugas, what up? Mark Bayard, appreciate y'all for being there. Paul Steen, would Corey Raymond want to come back? I can tell you unequivocally, without a doubt, 100%, yes, he would come back. Slee Sue, good morning. Rick Manuel, good morning. Russ Longway. Richard Tilley Sr., good morning. Jeff McKithen, Kenneth Westbrook, appreciate y'all for being there. Appreciate y'all. Okay. I forgot where we were in the comments. My apologies. We were going through the last 5 years. So Flott was the other one. So you had Ricks. So you had Stingley, Flott, Ricks, McGlothern, and then you sign Raydarius Jones, Demarius McGee, who obviously both of them transferred as well. But the point is, you would have had, but for obviously the erosion of the program, which, as we've talked about many times, was not Corey Raymond's fault. It was your head coach's fault. And he got fired, and the new guy, and Brian Kelly, decided to bring in his own guys, and that's fine. But you can't say that over the last 5 years that Corey was there, it fell off. I mean, just look at the players that, if you just look from 17 to 21, Grant Delpit, here's the 17 class of defensive backs. Grant Delpit, Todd Harris, whose career got derailed by injuries, John Trey Kirkland, who came in as a corner, Jacoby Stevens, who was a 5-star, and Kerry Vincent Jr., who, of course, became a really good player for you and played in the NFL. Then in 18, you went and got Kelvin Joseph, who was a great player out of Scotlandville, but again, LSU's stupid weed policy, and he ends up going to Kentucky. Was he the only corner? So he was the only corner that year. No, and then Terrence Alexander. You got Terrence Alexander was a transfer. Then in 19 is when you brought in Flott, Raydarius Jones, and Stingley, and Jay Ward, another NFL guy. Then 20 was the class where you brought in, so you had those four, and then in 20 you brought in Eli Ricks and Dwight McGlothern. And I think you might have had one more defensive back. Oh, Jordan Tolles at safety. Obviously, he got buried in the logjam at safety with Delpit and all those guys. So that was 20. So, I mean, you're loaded up at talent. And then in 21, was McGee in 20? We talked about Sage Ryan and Sage Ryan the only. Oh, and you got Major Burns, Sage Ryan, Derek Davis. And then where was Demarius McGee? Where did I miss him? Langlois and Demarius McGee. There it is. So anyway, my point is like, he continued to churn out great classes of defensive backs over those last 5 years. It eroded when the coach got fired. Like, why is this hard to see? What is confusing about this? Like, up until the end, you were bringing in 5 stars and great talent, and it eroded at the end when the coach got fired. The coach was, well, deserved to get fired, but you'll understand. Anyway. Okay. Tiger Creek Outdoors, I bet Aranda hires Raymond at Baylor if Brian Kelly doesn't. I bet you he does not. Because Dave Aranda, and I've explained this to y'all before, Dave and Corey, let me say it this way, Dave didn't like the way Corey coached the DBs, which is why when the 10th assistant came in, Dave's condition of staying and not going to Texas A&M was that he got to handpick the 10th assistant, and his handpicked 10th assistant was Bill Bush to coach the safeties, and that pissed off Corey, which is why Corey almost left that year and interviewed with, I believe, the Dolphins and the Bengals maybe, and that's when Nick Negative recruited Patrick Surtain and said, hey, the guy you're getting ready to go play for is interviewing for NFL jobs, and that, and a nice little chunk of change on the table, is why Pat Surtain went to Alabama and not LSU. So, no, I don't think Dave Aranda would be hiring Corey Raymond. David Bass, what's up, Matt? Just like that, I'm ready for baseball season. The way Corey turned Flott around showed how good he was. Flott was awesome. Flott was the highest rated nickel in the country his last year at LSU. Playing in the NFL right now. Do you think Kelly will make any major coaching changes? I do. Reggie Mack, I wish we could get back Blake Baker. Reggie, I'd be down with that as well. If you told me, Blake Baker left here, went to Missouri, and has proven he's got chops in the SEC. If you can go to Missouri and get Blake Baker to come back as a DC, I would take that. He's a proven SEC defensive coordinator now. Let's see. Please smash that like button if you would. Kenneth Polk, Kelly should be on Corey's front yard with a blank check saying come home to LSU. Gregory Gordy, do you think LSU's NILs will increase if Corey comes back? I don't think so, no. I don't think those are congruent. Brittany Hopkins, I'm a little behind. Could you phrase part ways? But could the phrase part ways with Raymond Many left on his own, plans to go elsewhere? No, he was fired. Florida fired Corey Raymond. They needed a fall guy, and so they fired 2 assistants. Ken Martin, Matt, I don't know who started the narrative about Corey, but I do know Mike S. on his YouTube channel said he was happy Corey was not retained and against him. That's stunning to me. And I don't know, maybe Mike as a recruiting guy, I have no idea. I would be totally speculating on why. I don't know where that comes from with Mike. I would be guessing. But, and I'm taking your word that what you're saying is accurate. I'm not saying you're intentionally being deceitful, but I don't know what Mike's take was. But that's pretty stunning, especially for a guy that covers recruiting like Mike does. That's Jason Champagne. Spurge, go Huskies. You're right about that. Yeah, we need Bad Bo to show up. You're right, Blaze. We need Bad Bo. Bad Bo on Friday would be great. Josh DeVilliers, Rooney _VR. Why did he let go at Florida? Fall guy. TJP, thoughts on Armani Goodwin entering the portal? I get it. Goodwin was a top 100 player when he signed with LSU, and his career was just beset by injuries. Even last year, before the hamstring injury, he was leading LSU at 6.5 yards a carry. I think he would have been a really dynamic piece of the offense last year, but for the injury. And then he tore his ACL against Arkansas. So wherever he goes, he's got 2 to play 2. So wish him well. Carlton Cisco, good morning. Chewalt 1, morning, Matt. Where is LSU likely to go bowling? ReliaQuest against Notre Dame. It would be my guess if I had to bet. Tampa. Barry Jocelyn, why is it we keep having one of the hardest schedules in college football? Georgia's in the SEC. Their schedule has been easier this season. Well, they play in the East, and the East was terrible this year. But next year will be... And by the way, Georgia did schedule Oklahoma this year. Georgia was supposed to play a non-conference game against Oklahoma, but because Oklahoma was coming into the SEC, and that home and home would have bled into the Oklahoma being in the conference, that game got canceled. So Georgia should have had a non-conference game this year against Oklahoma, but the league made them move it in their defense. Let's see. Carlton, morning, Matt. Do you remember when Charles Woodson passed Peyton Manning on the last Saturday before the Heisman came out? Peyton only threw for 5 touchdowns that day. I did remember that Peyton threw for 5 touchdowns that day, but of course that was the Michigan-Ohio State game, and Charles Woodson not only played receiver but returned punts, and that was highway robbery. I mean, it was that was the first year where I really, I was, 97, I was 15, 16 years old, whatever it was. That was whenever I first remember being introduced into the Heisman being I don't want to say a sham, but that's where it lost its luster for me. I remember where I was watching that. Me and my dad, my buddy Kelly Patrick, his dad, Mr. JC, we were at Liuzza's in New Orleans, eating dinner before we went over to the Dome to watch West Monroe and Karen Crow, 97? No, 97 was West Monroe and... Yeah, I think it was Karen Crow. Adam McConaughey, I think, was the MVP of that game. Anyway, we went to dinner and watched the Heisman, then went to the state championship game. Don Juan, what's up? Let's see, I heard Frank Wilson brought up Corey Raymond to Kelly, so he was let go for a reason. I'm confident he will be our cornerbacks coach next year. I'm all for it. Terry Radney, Corey's a part of the culture Brian Kelly was brought in to change. That's factually inaccurate. Terry, that is it. All right, that's my point. So, Terry, wherever that is rooted, wherever you heard that from, is teetotal bull corn. I want to know what made you believe that, Terry. That's like you didn't come up with that idea yourself. You heard that from somebody, and I want to know where that's from. I don't know who is out there planting those seeds, but that is a factually inaccurate statement. That is wrong and dumb. I'm not saying you're dumb, Terry. I'm just saying that is a completely factually inaccurate statement. Blanche, I hate retired numbers. I wish they only let one person on the team own a number. I wish that only players that were productive could have single digits, so they have to earn them. I don't care about jersey numbers really at all. I mean, I've always said put a poop emoji on the front of your jersey. Just play well. Weston Weaver. Sorry I'm late taking kiddos to the doctors. All good, man. Hope the kiddos are doing all right. Ransom Antoine, morning, Matt. If the Saints offense struggles against the Lions to save their season, they have to make a change for the last games, right? Doubt it. Guy Brooks, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Victor Bernard, what was the reason BK fired Corey? He just didn't retain him. There was a bunch of staff. Like, the only staff member he retained was Brad Davis. And that's common. Like, usually when a coach is hired, he brings his own staff, and he has autonomy to hire them, and that's okay. Like, it's your prerogative. You're going to be the head coach. You should be able to hire your staff. And so he let go a lot of coaches. In hindsight, Corey, Greg McMahon, I think Jake Flint has done a nice job, but Tommy Moffitt has been a cornerstone of all of LSU's championships. It's hard to justify letting him go when he's the best, literally the best at what he did. But it's a coach's prerogative to bring in who he wants. Glenn Garner, all Carr has done is milk the cow. Glenn Crowdis, maybe Frank Wilson can convince Brian to bring Corey back. The Tyga checking in from Thailand. Okay, here for the holidays. Very good, man. Enjoy. Hunter Broadhead, what's up? Bruce Shales, your boy's having his first baby today. Future LSU baseball star in the making. Now, Bruce, I would like to congratulate you, but let's be very clear. Your wife is having the baby. You were a participant. She is committed. She is the one giving birth to the baby. Anyway, most importantly, Bruce, congratulations. I hope mom and baby are healthy. Everything goes smooth and awesome. And I hope you're thrilled, as I'm sure you will be. What a great day, and what a great moment, man. Something you'll remember forever. So that's awesome, man. Give your wife a big old hug and a kiss, man. She deserves it. Walter Rushing, Sage may have developed into a good player under Raymond. That's fair. Glenn Garner, if we are going to lose the division, let Winston start, let Carr think about his performance. I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to do it. Let's see, a couple more. Please smash the like button if you would. 274 watching live, only 76 likes. I know we can get that number up. As always, shout out to Brock and Hudco. You need North Peters, go to Brock. You need a roof, give a shout out to Hudco, hudcoroofing.com. Would you say LSU is an unsung LBU? I think LSU has produced really good linebackers over the years. You know, if you even go back to I think there was a great string in the late 2000s that started with guys like Kelvin Shepard and Perry Riley, Kevin Minter, then into Kendall Beckwith, Deion Jones, Duke Riley, Devin White. I think LSU's produced some really good line. Patrick Queen, obviously, here recently. Right. Ethan Davidson, is Brian Kelly making any major changes to the defense? This is probably the worst defense I've seen in the last 20 years. Keep saying how quickly I'll forget, man. 2020 was atrocious as well. As a matter of fact, so I looked it up, and I mentioned it yesterday in AFR, but so remember, 2020 was only SEC games. So they played 10 games, all SEC, so they didn't have an Army, Georgia State, Grambling to help the averages. And they allowed 34.9 points per game. 34.9. In SEC games only this year, LSU allowed 33. So that defense in 2020 was actually worse than this one. But we're splitting hairs here. I mean, they're both atrocious. Pops and Yee's Adventures. I'd be shocked if Brian Kelly hires Raymond. You might be right. I mean, he had the opportunity to retain him and didn't. So would he then go hire him? Maybe not. So I don't necessarily disagree with you. But what I'm pushing back more so against is the narrative from LSU fans blaming Corey Raymond for what's gone wrong on the defense, when that is just dumb and inaccurate. Lewoski, it's crazy the cannabis policy is so strict that LSU and Bama players test negative. The football program puts them in rehab instead of suspension. Remember, every athletic department, there is no uniform drug testing policy in the SEC. Every athletic department, every school has their own policy. And LSU's was unusually strict. I mean, they kicked Tyrann Mathieu off the team, y'all. Tyrann Mathieu, the year after he was a Heisman finalist. Guy Brooks, hope Drew feels better soon. Thanks, man. Us too. Let's see. D Knight, Roderick Woods. Anybody have a list of replacements if House is fired? I mean, I think we've mentioned some of the names. You know, a lot of people here mentioned Blake Baker, who was here as a linebackers coach. He's the DC at Missouri. I mentioned Jim Leonard. But I'll tell you, I'm going to say this again. I trust Brian Kelly to make a good DC hire because he's made good DC hires his whole career. From Notre Dame, Bob Diaco was his first DC and was awesome. It was the DC when they went undefeated, played for the national championship in 2012, got the head coaching job at UConn. They hired Brian Van Gorder, which was a miss. Brian Van Gorder with the Falcons. He was a miss with Notre Dame. And they fired him and brought in Mike Elko. And then Elko took the job left South Bend to go to Notre Dame. And when Elko left, he hired Marcus Freeman. So Brian Kelly's got a good track record of hiring defensive coordinators, man. And the Matt House hire felt like a great one when they made it. We'll see what he elects to do. But if he's making a change at DC, I have confidence in his ability to get the right guy. Russ Longway, Sean Washington, a big get. If you're talking about recruiting, that's not exactly my forte. He's a JUCO. JUCO D-line. 6'3", 297 from New Orleans. I mean, doesn't that explain, doesn't that recruited by Frank Wilson? I mean, I hope you all can see what they're doing now. With Frank in charge. He's going and getting a bunch of dogs from Louisiana. I mean, yeah. Do you trust that Frank Wilson knows talent when he's looking at it? I do. And honestly, man, give me a dude who played high school football in New Orleans. The level of ball they play at not only the Catholic League, but you think about Carr and Easton and the amount of athletes and the dogs and the talent that run through those programs every year and the development, the coaching they get. God, why are you jumping on a plane and going to Nashville to recruit a private school cornerback 3-star? Go get me that kid out of JFK in New Orleans. Anyway. Corey's a good recruiter. His coaching is subpar. Look at the numbers. That's just so wrong. My God, that's so wrong. That's so wrong. It's so wrong. What? Look. Okay. Black Ice 4040. Why then is everyone in this chat complaining about Matt House and not Robert Steeples? If you're going to lay at the feet of the Florida DB's coach their struggles and not their defensive coordinator, then you need to tell me why you're not in this chat criticizing Robert Steeples instead of Matt House. But you won't, because that's a narrative you've heard from somewhere that you've taken hook, line, and sinker, and you believe, and it's just wrong. Look at the amount of players at LSU that Corey brought in, developed, and got to the league. I mean, that list speaks for itself. Don't tell me that guy can't coach defensive backs. It's just wrong and stupid. Sean Z, do you remember on AFR when Ryan Clark said Jaden Daniels has potential of winning a Heisman? I do. I actually clipped that a couple of weeks ago and tweeted it. So if you're interested, it is on Twitter. I tweeted it just a couple weeks ago. Scott Fontenot. Some of y'all are saying you still got choppy audio. Sorry about that if you are. All right. We'll wrap it up. It's 8:38. Appreciate y'all for being here. If you're on YouTube, see, do you consider Matt House a major miss? Yeah, Victor, I do. I mean, this is one of the worst defenses we've ever seen in LSU history. Yes, of course. I mean, I'm surprised by it. I loved the hire when they made it. But it happens sometimes. So, yeah, by the way, so for some of you who are saying the audio is going in and out, my suggestion would be like close out and then restart the stream. So like, close it, swipe up on your phone or wherever you're watching, and then go back and restart it, and it'll work. That happens sometimes. All right, anyway, I'm going to bounce. Thanks so much for being here, y'all. Have a great day. Again, if you're on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Scone page, share the post. Bruce Parker, Matt, the narrative's coming where all great narratives come from. Tiger Rant. You know what, Bruce? It wouldn't surprise me, but like, I know a lot of y'all don't believe me on it, but like, I haven't looked at Tiger dropping since 2008. I know some of y'all don't believe me, and I don't care if you do, but if that's where it's rooted, that's just so fundamentally stupid. But it's not just message boards. Like, I don't listen to other people's shows. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to other people's podcasts ever. Like, I do this all the time. I create content. I don't consume content. Like, I'm not listening to other people's shows to know what to say. Like, I have my own opinions. I have my own sources for information and people that I talk to that I trust. And I use that to formulate my opinions, not other people's shows. So that's why I'm so caught off guard by the Corey Raymond stuff. If you're just joining us, that's where we started today. It's like, I'm so caught off guard by the amount of LSU fans that are pushing back against the idea of Corey Raymond coming back to LSU. Like, somehow he's to blame for what's gone wrong with the defense, which is categorically fundamentally stupid and false. So anyway, okay. Y'all do me a solid. Of course, you need North Piece, go to Brock Need Roof. Give us a shout at HUDCO, HUDCOroofing.com. That'd be a huge help, man. Commercial, residential, would love to give you that free, no obligation roofing inspection. If you could do me a solid, just click that HUDCO link, fill out the form, let us come do a free roof inspection. That'd be awesome. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Okay, y'all have an awesome, or if you know someone who needs a roof, mention HUDCO to them. Y'all have a great day. Peace.